Okay, this is a Google slideshow that I'll be sharing with you guys, or I probably already have at the time that you're seeing this. And as you can see, it's about the energy flow in an ecosystem. The main question is what feeds an ecosystem and keeps it going? So here's a picture of a pond, and the question is what kind of life and death occurs in a pond ecosystem? So there's the things that happen that we can see. That's called macroscopic. You don't need a microscope to see it, like the trees on the right here, which live and die. And if you were to imagine some life down in the water here, maybe there's some fish or insects or aquatic plants. So those are things that we can see, but then there's a lot of stuff happening on the microscopic level that is actually critical, very important in a healthy ecosystem. So here's a plant that looks like it's died off. Maybe it's the fall and it's starting to get cold. What happens to this plant when it dies? Is it still a part of the ecosystem? The temptation might be to say no, it's dead, so it's not doing anything anymore. But that is not the case. This is a really complicated diagram, and I don't expect you to memorize this or write it down, but the critters that I want to focus on are right in the middle here, and I think it's appropriate that they're in the middle because they're really important to everything that's going on around it. The decomposers. Those are bacteria like the bacteria that live in the grow beds in our classroom aquaponics system and the bacteria that live in the live rocks. And they eat this dead organic matter. And then they convert it, and this is where it gets kind of technical with nitrogen and nitrification, but basically they're converting it to something that is plant available. And then that energy in the form of nitrates goes over here and feeds the plants, the same plants that are dying to feed the decomposers. Not the exact same plant, but plant life in general. It's sort of that cycle, how that works. And when animals die as well, these decomposers they do the same thing. So anything that used to be living that isn't anymore breaks down, and these decomposers are small and they have small mouths, so they need that stuff to be broken down so they can consume it. The decomposers, like bacteria and fungi, need this organic matter to survive. Not only do they eat this gross dead stuff, this is all they eat. Their job is to take this gross stuff and fix it. This means that they consume or eat the decomposing gross stuff, and eventually it becomes food for plants and for other bacteria. So that is a summarizing of this very technical piece of information. This, in a nutshell, this is what's going on. The decomposers are eating this gross stuff and they're fixing it to make it available for other things, let's say, whether it's other bacteria or plants that take up nutrients in their roots. Where does all this energy come from? The energy to grow a plant, to feed a fish, to warm the pond so the plants can emerge. The sun, of course. Okay, I put this little scene together here, so it's probably not the best science diagram you've ever seen, but I wanted to capture the fact that the energy is flowing around continually, and it's not just like a closed loop where it can only do one thing. So it is said in science that energy cannot be created or destroyed, it just changes form. And this is how ecosystems work too. There is no waste, and death brings life. So at the beginning of all of it is the sun helping the plants to grow, And when they die and break down, here are the bacteria that are going to, the decomposers, I should say, because it's more than just bacteria, but they're going to consume that dead organic matter, help to feed other plants. Maybe that plant is in a pond and there's a fish that eats plants, and so that fish eats the plant. And then maybe this guy takes a break from meditating and grabs his fishing pole and goes and catches the fish. So it just kind of goes around and around and around like that. Oh, apparently that's the last slide. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this information. Feel free to watch this slide or the screencast as many times as you need to in order to try to answer the questions that come with it. And now you're going to have to bear with me while I get out of this presentation mode and quit my screencast.